In the all-age under 50 member class with a rating of silver, Central Florida Sounds of Freedom. In all-age under 50 member class with the ratings of bronze, Florida Express. And in the all-age under 50 member class with a rating of silver, Impact Drum and Bugle Corps. And tonight's best in show, Impact Drum and Bugle Corps.
And 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scores will be available tonight on DCI.org. Please travel safely. We wish you a very good evening.
And welcome live from the FloMarching Austin, Texas, with Jeremy Hunt. Jeremy.
Hi.
And Eric Patterson. Exciting show tonight.
Good. Once we kind of got. It's always exciting.
Yeah, so managed to squeeze a show in.
Yeah.
So before we get to talking about tonight's results and breaking down the competition, we want to hear from Carolina Crown on how they make their shows sound so good.
The key word we're trying to go for this year is clarity as opposed to volume. Obviously with these speakers we can push out that higher volume, but these allow us to design in a different way. It allows us to be more clear, more articulate with our presence on the field and within the front ensemble as well. And the design itself will feed off of that as well.
Traditionally, the front ensemble has like one voice, and that voice kind of gets added with another voice. But this year, we're really experimenting a lot with integrating those ideas, passing an idea from woods over to metals, back to woods, back to metals, and then coming together to forming a conclusive idea. So for this show in particular, Beast, the front ensemble is really, the amount of timbres that we use within the show is astronomical. I mean, we're going to hear different instruments in different colors all the way through the show, and we're going to hear those ideas reoccur, but with different layers on top of those ideas. So we may start off with one idea at the beginning, kind of develop that idea and that timbre throughout the show. And it's really characteristic of the show as we move through the timeline of the production. And the front ensemble traditionally, it kind of provides this wall of sound in front of the drum corps. I think this year we're going to try to develop the character within the front ensemble a little bit more from a visual standpoint as well.
Our new system, they are line arrays. The quality of the speakers themselves are above anything else that I think anyone is using in this era right now. The true stereo image these stackers will give you is comparable to actually wearing studio headphones. That way, you'll actually hear like the pot and marimba's over here. They will actually be on your right side, and it'll be as though it's actually all, you know, right in front of you in your right ear.
Our goal is always to determine what the primary voice is. If it's the brass is the primary voice and the front ensemble is the secondary voice, then we need to, we need to balance so that way the listener can fully understand the primary voice as its lead role.
It's definitely going to change the way people experience drum corps now.
And big thanks to Carolina Crown for letting us look under the hood there at their sound production for this year. So Jeremy, let's get into tonight's show. We were looking forward to seeing these 6 corps stacking up against each other. Let's just kind of go through all the competition. Spirit of Atlanta, they were not with their closest competition tonight. They're sitting right now kind of up against Academy, Colts, Mandarins. How did their performance tonight compare to what you've seen from those corps and some of the others at the bottom of that top 15 in terms of performance and production?
Well, I think they're definitely in that pack, and I was actually really blown away at how well they performed, not kind of having anybody in their pack at the show. From the costuming to the props, I think Salas is now back at Spirit starting last year and this year. I think he's really kind of charted a course for that drum corps to take some really good steps forward. And I thought they were great tonight, you know. Sometimes when you're on an island, you can make a big step forward when you're on that island. And I feel like that's the place they are. So when they finally get to meeting up with those other drum corps, it should be really interesting to see how they stack up.
It's been nice to see that despite modernizing their approach to design, they still retain a lot of that old Spirit Southern feel to what the music they're playing and how they're approaching putting that music together.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing. Years ago, I was with Spirit Atlanta at one point, and it's always like, how do you stay with Spirit where you still have one hand back, but you're reaching one hand forward? And I think this is another step. So they're kind of the next evolution of that. They're trying to take one step, reach one hand back, and be Spirit in that Southern vibe in some capacity, but then also put a hand forward and go, we're also going this direction. I think they're definitely that way. And I really, the costumes are great. It's just a really great look, and I thought they were really great tonight. So
moving forward out of Spirit, and our next performer was the Cadets. So Cadets, a very different look this year, not the maroon and cream that we've come to expect from them. Very clean field, minimal props. What do you think is driving that change in the look this particular year?
That's the biggest thing I know we were talking about when we were watching the show. The thing that's the most striking is the uniform change, because the Cadets were always kind of anchored in this, we're going to wear the maroon and gold, we're going to look like the West Point Cadet look, and we're going to do these modern shows. And I think this year, you know, they popped the cork and went, we're going way over here, and we're going to take this big risk and look totally different. And this is on the video, and it's so vibrant, it's so overwhelming. I know Joe Heiniger designed these costumes. I think it's a great step forward where it's still a traditional silhouette of what a marching ensemble costume is, but the zigzag pattern, the texture, it just totally changes the look of how they are on the field. And when they turn to black, they turn all the way around, they turn to black, and there's the zsa fabric on the back. It's a great step for them, and I'm actually really excited that they really stuck their leg out and took this big risk, because it's awesome, it's great.
Zsa, is that the technical?
That's technical.
Yeah.
ZSA. Write that down.
Always learning something new here on the Taking the Field broadcast.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeremy, for that bit of education. All right, moving right along. Boston, wow, they are putting a lot out on the field, aren't they?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed them. Just from the construction of all the elements, it is so clear. I'll give a shout out to my fellow drill designer, Leon May. It's so balanced. It is so clear. You can just back up and you can watch everything happen, and it all makes total sense, and it's crystal clear. They have a lot of other great people on their staff as well that I don't really have time to mention right now, but I just wanted to say that as a fellow drill designer, it's just the crispness of making those really great choices I was really excited about.
And you know, we talked earlier. They're in that top pack right now, in the hunt for that top 6. With the amount of content they have right now, how do you think that they're being judged in comparison to some of those other cores that are in the top 6?
I definitely think they have all the content to be in that group of groups. In that group, it's just my read watching it is it seems like there's one trajectory, and the trajectory is just like this. Like they're going to just keep going that direction because of how it's put together and the people that are teaching them. I know those people will push until the last day, and you can see it, like it's on a trajectory up.
Yeah, and there's just, when I watch that show, I see that there's just so much content. It would be really easy for a judge on a first read not to be able to take everything in, because you can't look everywhere all at once, and you can't hear everything all at once.
Yeah, and definitely with drum corps, sometimes that's what's different with marching band or winter guard. Like, because everything is firing at all cylinders and it's college age, it's 18 to 22-year-olds, you can get so much out of the performer. Once you hit this tier, you go, it's not enough, we need more. You add more, you develop more, you change a toss, you change this, and you just keep going. So they already have so much, so when they need to start pressing to those next levels, I'm sure they'll turn on the juice and, you know, add some things.
And moving into our last couple groups of the evening, Bluecoats and Carolina Crown, both of these two programs have storied brass lines. We've heard about the Crown brass for years. Bluecoats, obviously, no slouches with the horns. What did you notice? Because you're a brass player, right?
Yeah, and I march Bluecoats too, so the irony is there. They're both really impressive in totally different ways. The Bruckner of Crown is classic Crown. It's relentless, it's in your face, it's just plowing you over like a snowplow, like it's just pushing all the sound. And I think that's what's super impressive. One thing I think is really interesting with Bluecoats, and if you guys get a chance to watch this when you watch the video the next time, more than half of the Bluecoats horn line plays more than one instrument in the show. And I think that's a new way to look at content, because you can talk about content and scalar content, volume content, but then when kids have to start putting down instruments and picking up other instruments, now that's a whole nother skill set. The kids' faces have to work differently, their ears have to work differently. That's a massive challenge. So you have to start going, well, how do you get more, what means more, you know? So, but they're both very impressive in their own ways.
And completely different stylistically.
Completely different. Like if there's any two shows tonight that were drastically different, it was the last two. Just totally different of what their goals were.
Well, so Bluecoats, we talked before the show about how they've set themselves apart competitively. Right now, they're sitting at the very top of the heap. Did they live up to the hype tonight?
Based on what I saw tonight, I still think they're at the top of the heap of where we currently are on the 8th of July. You know, they're just the detailing, the layering, just to get everything to move around the way it's going, it takes a lot of planning, and they seem like from a planning stage they're farther ahead.
So they'll be heading into competition with the other groups of performers that we didn't see tonight. Let's take a look at the future events schedule. So next Friday we have Drums Along the Rockies. We'll see Blue Knights and Santa Clara Vanguard. We will not have Taking the Field on Friday night. We'll just be bringing you the live cast from Denver. The next time we will be with you on Taking the Field is on Sunday for the DCI Midwestern Championship. We'll be seeing 5 of the current top-ranked corps according to DCI. Taking the Field starts at 3:30 Central Time next Sunday for DCI Midwest. And of course, all of this, Jeremy, is building towards the Southwestern Championship in San Antonio on July 21st, moving on through Atlanta, and then that classic 2-day event in Allentown, and finally ending up in Indianapolis.
Yeah, the San Antonio show is the first time where everybody comes together and it starts to get really murky and just, you know, people start slotting around and jumping around spots, and it starts to get really interesting of how that final push happens. So we'll see where people are with pacing their shows out and what they start to debut. We should start to see, you know, people hitting really on all cylinders, the performers start to get really strong, and kind of San Antonio to the end is when drum corps separates itself from high school marching band, when those 22-year-olds are really, really, really cranking, that's when it really starts to get really exciting.
So lots of really fun events coming up in the next few weeks here at FloMarching. That's all we have for you tonight from Taking the Field. Thank you so much for joining us. One more time, I'm Emily Tanner Patterson. Thanks, Jeremy, for stopping by
Awesome,
tonight.
no problem. It was great.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.